We looked everywhere, all Latin America, because it wasn't an easy role to cast. Finding a trans actor that could act very well and sing, it was not easy. So we looked everywhere. And she had sent her tape when I came on when I came on to the project. And ultimately she was the one who got it. So I think she did an amazing job.
Hi, I'm Mark Peikert, Deputy Craft Editor of IndieWire. Joining me today for the Emilia Perez conversation is casting director Carla Hool. Carla, I'm so excited to talk to you. I love this movie so much. And the cast is just, there are no words for the cast and these three women.
Oh, Mark, thank you. I'm looking forward to chatting as well.
So this movie started off as so many different things. Jacques Audiard, the director, the writer-director, wanted to do an opera, and there was going to be a more straightforward crime movie. And then the two got schmussed together. And at what point in the process did you get involved?
I got involved definitely when the two had gotten smushed together, like you said, when it was already going to be a movie. And at that moment, the film was going to be shot in Mexico. Um, and ultimately, they ended up shooting everything in Paris. But yeah, he was in Mexico when he first reached out to me via Zoom. Yeah.
The movie has so many different genres in it. It's a musical, it's a crime movie, it's a family drama. What were the conversations like initially with Jacques about what he needed from these three main characters? What were you looking for?
Yes. Well, initially, it was very good actors, of course, trying to keep it authentic, because these three characters were Mexican, native Mexican, right? So, and there was going to be Spanish and maybe a little bit of English, but the Spanish had to be with a Mexican accent as well. So, as much as we opened up the search everywhere, um, the focus was to try and keep it really, real authentic. Things shifted along the way, um, but yeah, and of course the singing. We were chatting about, maybe the singing and the dancing. There wasn't going to be dancing at that point. There was no talk about dancing at that point. It was just singing. So, so I focused mostly on the singing. He was pretty open to, having actresses work with a coach, as long they didn't have to be like excellent singers, but, be able to sing enough to at least work with a coach and get there. Yeah.
The script changed so much over the course of pre-production and then during filming. What were the auditions like? Were there sides from the movie? Were there songs available yet, or was it all? How did you navigate that?
Well, initially I started with self tapes, right? So sent out self tapes everywhere, and initially it was a scene, right? Then Jack came to LA, and we had some live sessions, and these live sessions were with the music. So it was the scenes with the music. The auditions with these ladies that ultimately ended up getting the roles, and with others, um, it was while they were singing. It was those scenes where they're singing, the ones that we did for the audition.
I'm curious because so much of the power of the movie comes from Carla Sofia Gasson playing both Manitas and Emilia Perez, which a lot of people don't. I didn't realize until the credits at the very end. I had no idea because it's such a bold move, and Carla makes herself so vulnerable by taking on both those roles. Was it always the intention to have one trans performer play both those characters, or did that kind of evolve as Carla became part of the production?
Well, I think it was always a possibility. It was going to depend who ended up getting cast and the situation, you know. But it was definitely always a possibility. What is a fact is that since the very beginning, we were focused on casting a trans actor for sure. There was never a conversation of doing a man and a woman. You know, it was always going to be a trans actor.
So I mean, many people involved have told me this, and you and I just spoke about it briefly. But I love Jacques Audiard so much, and one of the reasons is he has no concept of American celebrity, and
Yeah.
he did not know who Selena Gomez or Zoe Saldana were before you brought them to him.
He did not know anyone. So really, he was looking at people at the, you know, like we auditioned people from Mexico, from Latin America, from different places. He was looking at everyone as the same. You know, he wasn't saying, oh, you know, name actors. He just wanted the best actors for the role, which was beautiful. And it ended up being Selena and Zoe.
Did you take credit for discovering Selena Gomez with Jack?
For Jack, yes.
Just this young
Which
up
is
and comer I
hilarious,
discovered.
right? Who doesn't know who Selena Gomez is? But yeah, no, he had no idea. He didn't know either one of them.
Talk about those two in particular because what about them? What put them on your radar for this project? What about both of those women spoke to you for Emilia Perez?
Well, Selena embodied a lot of the qualities we needed for that character. Um, and she just, you know, we were looking at everyone. We were open and we were seeing everyone. And when Selena came in to audition, she just she was just Jessie, you know, she transformed. We were doing the auditions in at a bungalow in a hotel here in LA. And so she had a whole living room to do the whole scene. And she just went, you know, went at it and got into it and she just was amazing. Now, and Jack and we loved her, but there was the one thing that was did not fit the role, which was her Spanish not being native speaker Spanish, right? Um, and the same thing with Zoe. And with Zoe, by the way, with Zoe, her audition was via Zoom because Jacques was already back in Paris. So we ended up doing her audition via Zoom, everything, the singing, everything. Um, but both of them, they don't have a Mexican accent because, you know, Zoe is Dominican and Selena is American, Mexican American. So this was a conversation I had with Jack, and I said, you have to address it somehow in the story, in the script, that they are not Mexican because you can't have Selena playing a Mexican born person with not being able to speak like you know without an accent in Spanish. And Zoe is Dominican and she looks Caribbean and her accent is Caribbean. And I said the same thing. Maybe you can address the fact that she's Dominican but has lived in Mexico or something like that. And he actually put both things in the story in a very subtle way, you know, because this was something I'm very particular when it comes to authenticity. I really I'm a perfectionist in that way in my casting. So I was really like, Jack, you cannot have this, you know, you have to do this. And then I left it like that. I didn't know what he was going to do at the end of the day. And when I watched the movie, I was like, wow, he put it in there in a very subtle, perfect way. So, yeah.
What was the audition scene for Selena? What was she performing in the living room of her bungalow?
Yeah, it was the audition scene that she does in her room, you know, when she's in her room. Yeah, it's that one.
That wow, so she was just going full out with that song in your that must have
So,
been so incredible.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it was intense. It was intense. Yeah.
And
And
initially,
The one Zoe did was the doctor scene.
oh
The
wow,
Hey Doctor, yeah, the doctor scene. Yeah.
wow, you really threw the gauntlet down for people auditioning for both those roles.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I know initially Rita's Zoe's character Rita was written as a male character. At what point did that change? Were you part of the process when that role was still a man?
No.
Okay.
No. For me, when I came on board, it was always a woman. It was always a woman.
Well, how did Carla become involved with the project? What put her on your radar? Were you familiar with her work before this?
I was familiar. Yes, I had seen her in a show, a Mexican show, um, which was it's the remake of a big show that used to, I think it was in 2000s. Anyway, I saw her there because I knew her before her transition from a movie that I had seen. So I knew her then, and then I saw her in this show, and I was like, oh, she's changed, and so I put it together a big list, and it was a huge search. We looked everywhere, all Latin America, because it wasn't an easy role to cast. Finding a trans actor that could act very well and sing. It was not easy. So we looked everywhere. And she had sent her tape when I came on when I came on to the project. And ultimately she was the one who got it. So I think she did an amazing job.
See, I'm happy that you and I both have jobs where we can absolutely rationalize how much content we consume.
Yeah.
Because that's how Carla came on your radar. So we never have to feel bad about binge watching or watching every TV show that comes out.
Well, we have to. It's almost
We
our
have to.
job. I mean, for me, it's like it's my job, right? And it's hard to keep up. There's so much out there. Yeah.
So for the other roles, beyond these trio of leading ladies, and I want to get back to them, what were you looking for in terms of tone? Because the movie cycles through so many genres, it's all a cohesive whole, but the supporting roles kind of pop up just once or twice in very specific genres. So
Mhm.
how were you looking for the actors who could carry those roles? What were
Yeah.
what were kind of your marching guidelines?
Well, I mean, it was just Jack wanting, the best actors. Um, when it comes to Adriana Paz, we read a lot of actresses, and Adriana was the one who got it. She's an amazing, very, very talented actress. Um, and then Edgar, he did an audition. Actually, had met Edgar before, so they knew each other, and that was a straight offer. That was actually probably the him and Mark. Those two were really. I mean, they had a conversation and everything, but it was offers. So for Mark, we wanted, someone authentically as well. We went to Israel, auditioned people in Israel. Um, and yeah, so it was a global search for all these roles. And then for all the smaller roles, I mean, those are the ones I cast. Then for all the smaller roles, those were cast locally in Paris. So that's why sometimes you might see a role here and there that doesn't necessarily look Mexican. But I mean, I don't know the local casting director, but she must have had a tough job finding actors that could, pass as Mexican in Paris. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm curious, what was it like getting to work on a musical? Was it was it a new challenge? Was it something that you kind of relished getting the chance to hear all these amazing performers singing?
I loved it. It was definitely a different experience. I've done animation. I did Coco, so there was, um, but this was different because it was live action. And it's not a traditional musical either, right? I mean, when I read the script, I was like, wow. this is really out there. I was like, this can go very, very, very wrong, but it is Jack Audiard, so I completely trust him. And then when we were doing the auditions in person and I listened to the music, because I hadn't heard the music, nothing. So when I listened to the music during the auditions, it kind of clicked and I was like, wow, this is going to be great. And that moment was when this is going to be great. But at
I mean, was
first,
that,
honestly, when I first read the script, I was a little scared. I was like, oh, this can go very, very wrong.
and it doesn't, and it comes down to, I mean, Jacques is brilliant, of course, but the
He's brilliant.
casting is so, what what everyone involved in the cast brings to it just sells it, and you never lose the thread. You never kind of drop out of the feeling that Jacques is creating. Was it daunting, kind of pulling together the cast who could pull all of this off, or was it just a thrilling challenge?
It's a thrilling challenge. I'm used to casting difficult stuff usually. I do a lot of international, so it's like search everywhere, which is not as easy as casting just in the US because here there's a whole system and agents and everything. So it's a much easier going and searching out in the world. It's definitely more challenging. But I love it. I love it. And I love finding new people and everywhere in the world. So it was a challenge, but it was fun. And working with Jack was one of the best experiences I've ever had.
I mean,
He,
talk to me. Yeah, please talk to me a little bit about working with him, because he's so cool. Like, he's just a cool man. And two,
yes,
he's so brilliant and always questioning and always trying to find the exact best moment for anything.
yeah. Well, I have to say he's probably the most generous director I have ever worked with. And what I mean by that is, as a casting director, we have different kinds of directors. Some directors are very open to listening to what we think and what we're suggesting, and some are not as open. Sometimes, they have their own ideas. And Jack, I found him to be, he was completely open. He would sit down with me and he would really listen to me and say, "What do you think? Tell me, talk to me." And he, as I ended up seeing in the movie, he took note of everything. So that means he's a person that surrounds himself with talented people that know their craft, and gets the best out of everyone. So he's not someone who's closed and thinks he knows everything and he's the best. He's open and generous and considers everyone's, input. And that I think that makes him even more brilliant than he already is. And he is charming and fun. And I do understand French. I speak it very little. So the communication wasn't that bad. I understood what he was saying. It was just me trying to talk to him and French was a little bit more challenging, but there was always someone that could translate. So it was a lovely experience working with him. You know.
Well, that generosity must have made it so fun for you to bring in all these different people, and without having that moment of like, oh, I have to do a hard sell for this person, because he's so open to everyone else's ideas.
He was open to everyone, and he was open, as I said, seeing people, actors that were famous that he didn't know they were famous, and actors that were not famous. He was open to, like Adriana Paz. Adriana Paz has worked in Mexico a lot, but she was not famous by all means here, she worldwide or anything. He was open to everyone, just to talent. He just wanted the best talent. And that is like the best thing that can happen to a casting director, you know. So it was just and everyone came to audition. I mean, we had Selena, we had all these actors come in and audition, which would usually never happen. Um, because it was Jacques Audiard. and everyone wanted to work with him. Everyone wanted to work with him. So that speaks a lot, about him. So,
I was going to ask, were you nervous asking Selena Gomez to come in and audition?
uh, well, actually, no, because I very, very fast realized that everyone wanted their actors to come in and audition. So, so I was like, great, let's have everyone come in on audition. At first I didn't think they were going to do it, but everyone wanted to. Everyone wanted to fight as hard as they could to get in this movie.
Was there a chemistry read between Carla and Jesse and Zoe? Sorry,
Mm,
Selena and Zoe.
yeah, no, not
Oh wow.
before we
So
cast them.
wow, I mean, talk that the alchemy between those three is just incredible.
Yeah, yeah. But that was also, just he just got the essence of everyone, every actor, and how perfectly they fit the role. So they fit the story perfectly, and therefore it just worked. It just worked on set perfectly between them. And now, they're very close after all this. But yeah,
Well, and I love that there was no dancing at all mentioned about the movie when you started, because there's quite a bit of dance now.
yeah,
And how fortuitous that Zoe joined the cast, because she carries a lot of the dance, a lot of the choreography rests on Zoe's elegant shoulders.
yes. Well, that was one of the things he loved about Zoe, her presence, her elegance, you know, how she just has this, yeah, she just fills the screen. She just, um, and I think eventually he evolved, with the project, like I said, for with when I was in this stage, there was no dancing, and eventually it evolved into dancing. So I'm sure talking with Zoe, and then she used to be a dancer, so he just brought everything together in such a beautiful way. And Zoe, those scenes, Zoe, I mean, she just kills it. It's the role of her lifetime. It's what a role.
I mean, everyone's talking about it. It's such an amazing scene in the movie, but the gala scene where Zoe's dancing on the tables and pulling them, I mean, she is so brilliant in that, and the juxtaposition of her and Emilia giving the speech at the fundraiser, it's yeah. I mean, that's a testament to Jacques being so open to what people bring to the table.
Yes. Yes. I mean, he's just, one of those genius directors that come once in a while. He's just very special. Yeah. It's amazing.
So when you were doing the global search for the cast and you're sifting through self tapes, I'm curious, what makes a good self tape for you? What gets a performer to stand out?
Well, I've seen so many self-tapes. Um, First, they need to keep it simple because I have had cases where they send me a self-tape and it's just, they're playing a scene at a bar, and so they record themselves at a bar with music and no lights, and they just need to keep it simple, good lighting, good sound, so we can see them and hear them well. The other thing that's super important that many times actors don't realize is they need to look into camera so we can look at their eyes, or it doesn't have to be straight to camera, but just right next to it, because their eyes are the most important thing. Many times actors are looking sideways, so they don't connect. So we're on a self-tape. I need to connect with the actor. So I'm looking for the eyes to see what's happening, you know, um, what's happening inside even when they're just listening to whatever what the other actor is saying, you can see what's happening or not, from their eyes. So that's a very, very important thing. Um, and those are technical things, right? And then just do their best job and send 2 different takes, even 3, 2 or 3 different takes, just to see the range. And yeah, that's about everything I can say. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Zoe won the role with a Zoom audition, and I mean, she's Zoe Saldana, of course. She's amazing. She's a genius at everything. But what about the Zoom audition really stood out? Like, what? How did she kind of overcome that lack of in-person connection?
Well, I mean, she was very confident. She was very confident. Um, very, she knew the character, she embodied it, she lived in it, she played with it, with Jack, with his direction. Um, and, one would think that it doesn't translate and assume, but it actually does. It really does. Um, it really does. I know actors get worried about self-tapes and about Zoom callbacks and auditions, but it does. It really does translate. As long as you have good lighting, good sound, good internet.
But that's just the baseline of living life in 2024 at this point. Good lighting and good internet, really.
Yeah, they don't need much more, they don't need a whole setup or they don't need a whole setup, but good lighting, good sound, good internet. That's important.
Well, and the choice of that scene for Zoe over Zoom it was so perfect because it is the scene of her sitting at the desk and speaking to the doctor. So it lends itself to that format so well. Do you is there do you put a lot of thought into the sides for over Zoom in terms of kind of making it a more natural fit for Zoom, or was this just a coincidence that this worked out in that way?
Uh, yeah. Well, and she actually got up and she moved in the audition. Uh, and this was the scene that Jack had chosen for the live sessions when he was in LA. So we were doing exactly the same session, the same scene, regardless. But yes, when I try to choose scenes that are good for casting purposes, because you can't choose a scene that there's too much action, too much going on, too many other characters, because then it doesn't work in a casting situation and in an audition. And then Zoom, you also need a scene that you don't have to move too much, not do too much. So you do have to choose wisely, um, the scenes for
Well, and
sure.
what was Carla's final audition scene?
Um, God, I don't remember right now because then Jack went back to Paris and saw her in person, and I didn't travel there. Um, so I don't remember right now. It's been a while. I don't
I know.
remember which one was her scene. She, out of course, everyone out of Zoe and Selena, she was the one that had more challenges with the singing. So she had to go through more coaching for the singing. But she was so great that it didn't matter. Jack was like, it's okay that she doesn't really sing. Of course, Selena came in and just blew it away. She was just.
I may never get over the fact that she was belting that song into your faces in the living room. That particular song of all the songs is so, I mean, wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because that, and then again, another amazing sequence that Jack was genius enough to realize the choreography would aid that song so much because watching her go between those two spaces is so powerful.
yeah. And you know also why I don't recall Carla's, because initially we did auditions not with the singing scenes. So, and we had the actors tape a scene and then tape themselves singing whatever, anything, right? So that's how it started. Um, and then and then and then eventually, Jack worked with Carla in Paris. So
What did you have any guidelines around what song people were to sing for their self tapes?
no,
Like a
no,
pop rock song or just anything?
anything, whatever they wanted. Yeah.
Did you notice any trends about people singing the same? So was there a song that everybody chose for their audition?
Not in this case. Not in this case. It was pretty all over the place because there was no reference for them, you know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've talked a lot about self tapes and Zoom auditions, and I'm curious for an audience of performers. What advice do you have for in person auditions?
Well, we don't have many of those anymore. Um, but for in person, well, it is very different. I know many actors are worried about self-tapes, but the truth is with the self-tape, uh, they get to choose their best take. They get to do it as many times as they want, make mistakes, and then choose the best take. When you come in person, you don't have that privilege of time because usually when we're doing in person, we don't have as much time, so we need to move fast. So the actor needs to come really prepared with their own take on the scene and get right into it. Uh, and sometimes we'll work with them and give them a note, and we'll do it one more time. Sometimes not. Back, it feels like forever when we were doing everything in person. We would see, I don't know, 50 actors in one day because that's all we could fit. That's why also self-tapes are great because we can see thousands of people. I mean, it's a lot more work for us because we're watching self-tapes until late at night. But we can see so many more actors. So many actors that wouldn't have had an opportunity, they do get it because it's self-taping. But in person, just be confident and don't worry about what, don't read the room like what they say, right? Because sometimes, I mean, yeah, I mean, it happens, right? Maybe the director is distracted or the producer or something's happening there and they start getting stressed about it or they're not paying attention or they need to get out of their heads and just come in character and just go in and just do it and not worry about anything that's going on in the room.
I mean,
And yeah, uh-huh.
and life too.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
I'm so curious. When did you finally see the finished film, the finished Emilia Perez?
Well, you are not going to believe it, but I finally saw it at the premiere. I finally saw it at the premiere. I was trying to go to screenings and I was going to go to London premiere. I was going to go to San Sebastian. I was going to go to Cannes. And just things happened, life happened, and I couldn't make it to any of them. So I ended up seeing the movie for the first time at the LA premiere.
I mean, were you? What was your reaction to getting to see all of these performers that you brought
I
on?
mean, I was shocked, and it was, I had heard already so much by then, right? Because it was at Cannes first and won at Cannes. And I had, of course, the actresses and everyone that had told me how it went and managers and people reaching out and saying, but so I kind of wanted to be fresh and arrive to watch the movie without anything that I had heard, with no expectations. You know how it is. Sometimes you have so many expectations that what you watch is not what you were expecting. And I was just in awe. It was just amazing. Yeah.
And the dancing was certainly a surprise.
The dancing was a surprise. I mean, I did get to see trailers, so I did see that there was some dancing in there, but seeing Zoe in those scenes, I was like, "Whoa, wow, you killed it."
I mean, would say the same thing about you in terms of casting this movie. You killed casting this movie. I cannot imagine a different trio of leading ladies in these roles.
Oh, thank you.
The whole movie is just spectacular. That's all the time that we have today. Thank you so much for speaking about this incredible movie. It is streaming on Netflix. Make sure that you watch it again, have your friends watch it. I think it's really special and deserves a lot of attention.
Yes, definitely. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you, Mark.
It was a delight talking to you as well. Thank you so much.